Hi guys, and welcome back to the Black Consciousness Movement channel. My name is Jehovah, and usually we discuss things like our black hair, as I discussed last week. And look at me, right? I told you that your black hair, if there's many things that you need to be proud of as a black woman or as a black man, right? In general, your black hair is actually on the top of the list because your black hair is the only one thing that you can actually let it look different every single time. Last week I had my hair straight. The week before that I think I had it curly, and now look at me. And next week maybe I'm gonna have it in an afro. Do you know of any other race on earth that can do that? Of course not. Only black people are really fortunate enough to be able to do that. I have a lot of white friends. I have a lot of friends from Bangladesh. I have a lot of Indian friends, and they always say, Jehovah, how do you do your hair like that? I mean, last time when I tried doing my hair like this, within 3 days, it was loose. So guys, you are blessed to be able to have your hair as it is. Don't be discouraged by people trying to put you down that our hair are not good, because our hair is our blessings. Anyway, we also talk about, our black skin, how to take care of your skin, and how to feel comfortable and teach our children to feel comfortable in our own skin, because we have been taught that our skin is not that good. But I always say black is beautiful, and part of that is also your skin, except for the other things that I mentioned in, I think, our first episode when we were talking about that. But on this episode, we're going to discuss more of what's going on in the world. Yeah. And I think before we even get started, I'm going to tell you probably more about what I want to discuss. When we say black is beautiful, we are not comparing that beauty with other races. We are not saying black is beautiful more than white, black is beautiful more than brown. We are just teaching mainly that black is beautiful. Okay, now let's go into what I actually want to discuss today. So today's episode is going to be a little bit longer because it's all about kind of opening your eyes to actually see the world for what it really is. So there's a lot of things going on in the world, and sometimes when people want to open our eyes, because now we are living in a world where we are getting information, I feel like we are living in I should call it a pandemic, or should I say pandemic? We are living in a world of a pandemic of information. There's too much information coming out to everyone, even to our children. And sometimes that information that comes out can influence the way we think and also the way we act and who we vote for. Anyway, before we get ahead of our game, today's episode is going to be different from all the other episodes. We are not going to talk about politics per se, but we're going to talk about what exactly is going on in the world as of current. So let's get started. And don't forget to push that notification button. Obviously, after subscribing, please like and comment. And please don't forget to share, because why would you want other people to be missing out on what we are doing on this channel? Black awareness, also the awareness of how we live in a society with other people, trying to create peace with us and not allowing the media to create this narrative of, oh, this one hates this one because of their race and so on. We are not saying that doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist to an extent of what we are hearing it all about. I think it's exaggerated for a purpose. Let's get started. Hi, welcome back, and we're gonna fall right in the door with what we want to discuss today. As I say, today's episode is a little bit different, and I realize I'm actually gonna have episodes that look like this, that has nothing to do with, our kind of like a discussion about our Black consciousness, our place in the society, as I usually say, and our getting along with other people that are different, that has different races or from different backgrounds, and all those kind of things. Today's episode is going to focus on what's going on in the world. And I think, I have someone that I follow that I don't watch news necessarily, because I figured that news most time is just propaganda and, like things that are being put there out for us to believe a certain narrative that they want us to believe. I used to follow Paki from First Post, but I realized later on, every time when I listen to her news, especially reporting about, because she's from India, reporting about Indian news and so on, she was very biased. She will talk these many things about other countries very accurately. But when it comes to India, she was never really telling us, like, for example, where India is doing something wrong. She wasn't honest, so I stopped following her. Now, I came across, and back then when I came across her, she wasn't really reporting on news or whatever, but I came across Candace Owens maybe 5 years ago, and I really, 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 I loved this woman when I saw her. There was, I think she said something about Hitler, and then she was taken out of, her whole speech was taken out of proportion. And I just like how this girl can think on her feet, like the way she answered all that. And I'm like, oh my God, this girl is good. Well, I'm saying girl because she's 13 years younger than me. And to me, she's like, I admire her very much. And I think one of the things also why I came to admire her is because I realized, because I'm one of those people who's very much misunderstood. And I looked at her and I watched most of her videos, and I'm like, she is so misunderstood. Now, I don't really watch YouTube, at least back then. So I'm going to actually put that video on that I'm talking about. So let's listen to that.
In congressional hearings, the minority party gets to select its own witnesses. And of all the people that Republicans could have selected, they picked Candace Owens. I don't know Miss Owens. I'm not going to characterize her. I'm going to let her own words do the talking. So I'm going to play for you the first 30 seconds of a statement she made about Adolf Hitler.
I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. He was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German, everybody to be speaking German.
All right, so my first question is to Ms. Hershinoff. Ms. Owens said, quote, if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany. So when people try to legitimize Adolf Hitler, does that feed into white nationalist ideology?
It does, Mr. Liu. I know that Ms. Owens distanced herself from those comments later, but we expressed great concern over the original comments.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Owens, I'm sorry, we just started recording. Would you like time to respond to that?
Yes, I think it's pretty apparent that Mr. Liu believes that black people are stupid and will not pursue the full clip in its entirety. He purposely presented an extracted clip.
The witness will suspend for a moment. It is not proper to refer disparagingly or to a member of the committee. The witness will not do that again. Witness may continue.
Sure, even though I was called despicable.
Witness may not refer to a member of the committee as stupid.
I didn't refer to him as stupid. That's not what I said. That's not what I said at all. You didn't listen to what I said. May I continue?
Please.
As I said, he is assuming that black people will not go pursue the full 2-hour clip. And he purposefully he cut off, and you didn't hear the question that was asked of me. He's trying to present as if I was launching a defense of Hitler in Germany, when in fact, the question that was asked of me was pertaining to whether or not I believed that whether or not I believed in nationalism, and that nationalism was bad. And what I responded to was that I do not believe that we should be characterizing Hitler as a nationalist. He was a homicidal, psychopathic maniac that killed his own people. A nationalist would not kill their own people. That is exactly what I was referring to in the clip, and he purposely wanted to give you a cut-up similar to what they do to Donald Trump to create a different narrative. That was unbelievably dishonest, and he did not allow me to respond to it, which is worrisome and should tell you a lot about where people are today in terms of trying to drum up narratives. By the way, I would like to also add that I work for Prager University, which is run by an Orthodox Jew. Not a single Democrat showed up to the embassy opening in Jerusalem. I sat on a plane for 18 hours to make sure that I was there. I'm deeply offended by the insinuation of revealing that clip without the question that was asked of me.
So can you see what I mean? Look at how she answered those who, people trying to put her in a corner for something that apparently she said, but they actually took the whole thing out of proportion. Anyway, so this video is not about Candace, but I'm just explaining so that you know what I'm trying to say and how I got to actually laugh here. I think this next clip is actually the reason I actually got to laugh and realize that, my God, this lady is misunderstood. Like, how is she against black people? She's literally trying to say that black people, wake up. Because these people are using the race bait to actually let you fight and vote for the wrong party. I think that's what she has been trying to say all these years. And to be quite honest, I'm sorry, but I do agree, even to a level of like, I am not going to vote for someone just because they have my type of skin if I don't think they're going to represent me. Because sometimes your skin type is not who's going to represent you. At least not 100%. So let's take a listen to the next clip.
It's Fox News contributor Jessica Tarlov, who is the senior director of research for Bustle.com and the communications director for Turning Point USA, Candace Owens. Good morning, ladies. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Abby.
I think we can all agree that things have gotten ugly. It has become so hateful. It's become so divisive. Candace, is there a double standard with women on the right, you think?
Of course, there's a double standard. I mean, it's incomprehensible and indefensible, and anybody with a modicum of decency will admit that what's going on here is wrong. I can't even fathom a world where Obama's daughters are threatened with pedophilia by somebody in Hollywood in the same week that someone in his administration is kicked out of a restaurant with 7 members of their family just for wanting to eat. We would never hear the end of the claims of racism. This would not be allowed whatsoever, and it should not be allowed just because this is Donald Trump's administration.
Jessica, your response?
My response is that there are 2 issues at play here. There's the civility issue, which is what happened here with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I personally don't think that she should have been thrown out of the restaurant. I think you can have a conversation with someone about the beliefs and what this administration is doing without denying them service. We don't deny service to people for immutable characteristics. We can legally on the basis of political affiliation, but I don't think it was constructive and it hurts the debate. The other side to the issue is the fact that Republican women want to be deemed feminists, and they want to have the same kind of clout as women on the left who are actually advocating for policies that help women, whereas the policies out of this administration actually hurt them, like refusing to raise.
Women that work for the president, they wouldn't say that. They would say actually the opposite. They would say that we believe in these issues and we feel like they help women.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but the statistics don't lie. We know that if you raise the minimum wage, 2/3 of people in this country on the minimum wage are women. They need that help. We know that there is assault on women's health care rights from this administration, things like that.
Jess,
Yeah.
Jess, please, I hate this selective feminism that we hear on the left all the time, okay? Well, don't make this a feminism issue because it's not a feminism
but
issue.
It is,
when you're going out and attacking women, you're not, I'm not done, okay? When you're going out and attacking women, you are not a feminist. This is not defensible whatsoever. And you sit here and you say that it's because you care about mothers. The basis of this is that people are upset that illegal immigrants are being separated from their mothers. Why don't you refocus some of that energy to the black community? They've been having their families separated. In fact, it's subsidized in the black community. You appreciate single motherhood. You are giving more money to families for fatherless absence. So all of this selective fake outrage when you guys do not have the same defenses for the black community is really lost on me. And it's time's up on this altogether. I think the black community has had enough of you guys being selectively outraged for parents of illegal immigrants, but not for the parents of the black community who have been separated from their family for about 6 decades
all
now.
right, and ladies,
Okay, for example, I think you've watched and you listen to that clip. She's clearly trying to say that so you have this selective feminism. So she's clearly trying to say that. So you have this selective feminism where you are talking about children being separated from their parents, but you are proudly allowing or not even talking about it, that most black children are actually growing without their father. She always talk about the father absence. And I think she's right, because father absence, although most people will say, oh no, a woman can actually raise a child alone and be a father, it's a lie. Any child needs a father. Like, seriously speaking, why would you think that even in the animal kingdom, like, there is a father and a mother? So why would you think children or human children need only one parent? It doesn't make sense. And I think the thing is that this is one of the things that she's very unhappy about. She reports about, when, back then, they were actually giving you money if you say that you are not with the father of your children. Now, what kind of nonsense is that? Like, why would you want me to not have the father of my children with me for me to get money? You can already see that that's an agenda already against black families. And I don't really know why, unfortunately, I have to say this, it's quite foolish that unfortunately we fall into that prey of thinking, okay, I need money more than I need the father of my children, because children, no matter what, no matter how bad sometimes the fathers are, the father figure is important in every single household. But anyway, on today's episode, we are not really talking about that. I wanted to give you an idea of the person whose video I'm going to share, so that at least you have an idea of where I'm coming from when I'm sharing her videos, because today's episode is going to mainly talk about the most awaited interview. Honestly speaking, I have 2 journalists that are my favorite. One is the Australian journalist called Julian Assange. Obviously, I don't know whether you know, but Julian Assange is one of those journalists who went deep into the investigating, I think they call it the whistleblower. And I think you know that whistleblower normally, even when the pandemic happened in China, obviously you know that some of the whistleblower obviously end up dying mysteriously and so on. So that really happened a lot, even to journalists. So he's actually right now in prison. And I actually want you to listen to what he was saying about how sometimes things are happening in the world, or how they are planned, and we don't even know. Take a listen.
The goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war. So Stop the War Coalition is important because we have to prevent it becoming normal for there to be a constant war.
Okay, I'm back. So Julian Assange, I don't know whether I've told you about him. He's an Australian reporter and journalist who is now actually in prison because of getting into some information that puts the CIA in another light of what they really do, and whatever they're creating wars and so on. I have no information about that. I'm only sharing that what I'm hearing and so on. But definitely we have learned a lot when it comes to the pandemic, about what happened. And even when we look to John Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, who obviously died mysteriously. I have to say mysteriously, because even though they say, oh no, there was a problem with his heart and so on, most people know that he's the only president that actually questioned the COVID-19 pandemic. He's the only one who questioned what was happening, and he's the only one that actually, I think he tested a goat, a papaya, and I don't know what was the other thing, and he found that they came back with COVID-19 positive, which was like, okay, seriously, how is a papaya having COVID-19, right? So we need to know that if we don't stand up against some of the things that are happening or that are being put to us, the information that are being put to us for us to believe, we are going into a world where just 10 people will control 9 billion people on earth. So with this, all I want to say is that please have your eyes open, because when it comes to voting, you need to vote the right party, so that you don't go blindly and vote for a party that is actually working against you than for you, because of what the media is putting out there, and because you believe it, because you are not informed. So my whole reason for this episode is to inform you that there is something going on. I don't have a clue. Like, I'm not in politics, I'm not a reporter. Yes, I'm doing political science, at York University, and I'm learning a lot of things about politics that I'm like, what the heck? What? But I'm not so versed into it so much in that sense. So I will leave that to those ones that at least know much more about it, so that I can focus on the direction of my own calling and so on. So take a look at this.
This week, Julian Assange, the Australian journalist and publisher renowned as one of the founders of media organisation WikiLeaks, is facing a landmark decision at the Royal Courts of Justice in London.
The travesty that has been going on against Julian Assange throughout all these years, there needs to be a change. There needs to be, in the end, justice. Justice for Julian Assange.
This significant two-day hearing is the last chance in British courts for Assange's legal team to appeal the US's request to extradite him on charges of espionage, where his lawyers and his wife Stella fear he would be subject to an unfair trial and unbearable detention conditions.
What's at stake is the ability to publish the truth and expose crimes when they're committed by states.
It should be not a crime to public things. As a journalist, it's normal.
WikiLeaks serves as a platform for sharing classified or otherwise privileged information in the public interest, and in 2010 revealed military documents which exposed US war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Shame for my country, which is persecuting a man whose only crime is sharing the truth of the war crimes, misdemeanors, and calumny of the United States government.
Despite him not being a US citizen, the Trump and Biden administrations have pursued Assange in a politically motivated case which intends to criminalize the disclosure of illegal state activity.
I shouldn't even talk about fairness at this stage, because the country that's trying to extradite him plotted to murder him. What are we even entertaining in these courts?
Human rights organisations stood shoulder to shoulder with journalists as people of all backgrounds gathered to bear witness to this important event.
Those of you who are journalists, one of your main job is to bear witness to injustice. If you cannot stop it, at least bear witness. And what you are witnessing here in the case of Julian Assange is one of the gravest injustices that we've seen in latter times. And it will mark the end of journalism if he is extradited. It will not be able to continue in the same manner as before. So what is at stake for you journalists is basically your existential platform. So you have to fight. It's not activism to fight for the right to practice journalism.
The Assange case represents the greatest threat to press freedom, with the future of investigative journalism in jeopardy.
And the United States is abusing its legal system in order to hound and prosecute and intimidate all of you.
Julian Assange's fight for his liberty is a fight for free speech, freedom of information, and the democratic right to know. And any ruling that prevents his release will cast a dark shadow on the world of free press and the pursuit of truth.
Okay, we are back, but today we are not going to talk about Julian Assange, although Julian Assange is a very important figure when it comes to reporting authentic, news or, information about what's going on in the world. But today we are going to talk about the most awaited interview that I'm talking about. Is actually another authentic journalist that I love. Like I love and I admire. What's his name again? Oh, Tucker Carlson. I love Tucker Carlson. He's very. I think I love the fact that when he reports, he's not like biased, just like I said, Candace is as well. And I think Candace shared the interview that he had with Flaminant Poden. And I think I want you to listen to the interview. I'm not gonna put the whole clip in here because it's not so much, though the interview is important, I want you to listen to how Candace is breaking it down. And really, to be quite honest, I'm not gonna try to, break all that down because Candace has broken it down in so much better than I can ever even put. So I'm gonna just put the highlights of it, and then I'm gonna share her, podcast link here because honestly speaking, I am not watching any other news than going to Candace Owens. Anything. She is so good. She's so authentic. She's so, everything she reports. And I'm not saying, she's perfect or everything she reports is probably, But I think she tries as much as possible to bring authentic news. And the thing is, I know that I might have people that watching me that has no clue about her podcast. So I would say go there if you want to hear about news and watch her. But for now, let me share this clip that she was kind of referring to Tucker Carlson about the interview with President Putin. And then, take a listen to this.
Happy Friday, everybody. And today we have a crucial show. Truly, I don't ask you guys this often, but this is one of those episodes where I don't want you to just listen to it. I want you to actually share it with other people because something happened yesterday that I don't know we would have ever had the opportunity to have this happen had it not been for Tucker Carlson being an independent journalist sitting down with Vladimir Putin. And the implications are severe. So I'm going to take you through the 5 biggest moments and what they mean. But first, I want to start with this clip from Julian Assange.
One of the hopeful things that I've discovered is that nearly every war that has started in the past 50 years has been a result of media lies. And the media could have stopped it. If they had searched deep enough, if they hadn't reprinted government propaganda, they could have stopped it. But what does that mean? Well, that means basically populations don't like wars. And populations have to be fooled into wars. Populations don't willingly and with open eyes go into a war. So if we have a good media environment, then we'll also have a peaceful environment.
How do you fool a population into war? That's what we're discussing today, coming up on Candace Owens. living in a permanent present, which is why Americans know nothing about history. That is the biggest takeaway, the first takeaway, I would say, rather, from this sit-down interview is just how ignorant Americans are about not even history a long time ago, but history even a couple of years ago. And it's intentional, by the way. So when Putin sat down with Tucker, the first hour really was just him focused in describing the history of the Russian Empire. I mean, he started in 8th century. It was stunning. Take a listen.
The Russian state started gathering itself as a centralized statehood, and it is considered to be the year of the establishment of the Russian state in 862. In 1862, Russia celebrated the 1000th anniversary of its statehood. The next very significant date in the history of Russia was 988.
So yes, that was quite stunning, and people were going, I couldn't pay attention to him going through that because in America, they want you to be ADHD. They don't even want you to be able to focus on hearing anything long form. And in America, as I said, we are definitely not allowed to learn history, not our history, least of all the history of the Russian Empire. In fact, you don't even likely know what happened in 2014. That was something that became apparent to me as I was trying to discuss Ukraine as a region, talking about what their relationship was to Russia, and I was attacked by the media. So let me tell you what happened in 2014. Ukraine at that time had a pro-Russian, democratically elected President Viktor Yanukovych. The U.S. then openly supported a coup against him. And they did this by supporting, you're not even going to believe this, far-right neo-Nazis. Remember the Azov battalion that you may have seen the media trying to get you not to pay attention to? Yes, throughout this interview, Putin keeps talking about trying to denazify Ukraine. He's not being dramatic. There are neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Now, pay attention to the fact that this happened back in 2014. Why is that significant? Because I think that we would have gone to war in Ukraine much earlier had it not been for a certain Donald J. Trump, who was unexpected by the state. They typically are picking our presidents. They did not expect Donald Trump, and the regime flipped out because it was an interruption into perfectly laid plans that they had begun in 2014. So what happened, yes, was that Ukraine launched basically a civil war is what happened. People in the East versus people in the West, right? People that were in the East, obviously backed by Russia, going, what is going on? And people in the West, backed by the Ukraine army, backed by the United States, because, well, the west of Ukraine, I know that a lot of Ukrainians watch this show, has had influence by NATO. They have been influenced. They have been making incursions, all sorts of little things that are happening. In fact, I was talking about this when the war broke out. I was trying to draw people to the fact that what is happening is really sort of a civil dispute that has been going on for a very long time, that the majority of people that lived in Ukraine spoke Russian until they started mandating that they no longer teach Russian in the schools. This is kind of trying to change the culture. And when I talked about these facts right at the outbreak of the war in 2021, the media came for me. Because you're not allowed to talk about history, you're not allowed to talk about facts. And the narrative at that time was just that, oh, Putin's trying to rebuild the Soviet Union. Nothing happened in 2014. These are actually headlines that are written about me. Also, in this interview, talks about how many times he attempted to come to peaceful resolve with the West over the years. He doesn't understand why they keep refuting him. It is a fact that Vladimir Putin tried to join NATO, and he was refused. He also tells a story about Boris Johnson, and this is absolutely wild, that they were going to have peace negotiations before they slaughtered an entire generation of Ukrainian men. But Boris Johnson, then the Prime Minister of the UK, shut it down. Why? Why would Boris Johnson tell Zelensky not to entertain peace talks with Russia? Well, the obvious answer is that they are hell-bent on a war with Russia. That doesn't give us the answer to why on earth they would want that, especially because Putin, the crazy dictator, doesn't particularly sound like he wants a war. Every time Tucker asked him a question where he could have signaled his strength or sounded like an evil dictator, he sounded, I would say, remarkably calm and collected. So you can imagine why the CIA quite literally tried to kill Julian Assange and wanted to prevent the information that he had found about these wars, what we've been doing overseas. He released documents pertaining to us just killing Iraqi civilians like it was a sport. No. We're not supposed to know what goes on overseas. We're supposed to believe that we're always fighting for freedom. We're spreading democracy when we're shooting civilians in the Middle East. And we're spreading democracy when we are having military members guard the poppy fields, which we know obviously creates opium. And now we have an opioid crisis, but let's not get into that. What is the CIA up to? Well, Putin, in his interview, made it very clear that the president is just a puppet that has no real power. And the CIA controls the president. In essence, that would mean that our entire republic, the concept of democracy, is an illusion, right? That there is an elite that is controlling. And he exemplified this by going over all the presidents who he had conversations with, president to president. And then suddenly the CIA would swoop in and tell him, no, that's not what we're doing. Don't listen to a word that he says. What it seems to me is that what's happening in the West is an artificial creation of an energy crisis, right? Why are they doing that? Why are they pretending that there is a crisis when they could very easily bring down the costs that we are seeing? Well, maybe it's because despite the narrative that we have been told that the West is always fighting for peace and democracy, we are actually causing wars and conflicts all across the world. It is time for us to wake up. It is time for us to take the baton that brave journalists like Julian Assange, whose entire life has been taken from him, essentially, and journalists like Tucker Carlson are trying to hand to us. We need to stop believing in the propaganda that surrounds us and start looking into history and looking for actual coverage of issues that are happening on a foreign policy perspective. Go back and revisit WikiLeaks. You will really quickly determine what I said long ago. It is an absolute nonsense to suggest that Vladimir Putin wants to recreate the Soviet Union. In fact, the exact opposite is happening. If the Soviet Union is being recreated, it is the European Union, right? They are the ones that keep inching and expanding and putting their military on people's borders, not Vladimir Putin and Russia, who has a GDP that's smaller than California.
So every single person or clip that I used in this video, I'm actually gonna put the link in the description down below, so you can click and go and watch the full clip. I'm definitely going to share Candace Owens' podcast, the link. You can also, because honestly speaking, if you are looking for real, authentic news, then you need to watch Candace Owens. The good thing about her is that she talks about almost everything. Anyway, we come to the end of this, and I just want to say, please subscribe, comment, like, and don't forget to push that notification button so that every single time when we have information and we are sharing things, you can be ahead of your game. Next time we're gonna share about how to help our children go into the right direction of what God has meant for them to be. Just like we can help our husband to do the same thing. But that obviously will not be on this channel. But the children will be on this channel. Take care, guys.